Hey, welcome everybody to RideMSTA Podcast. This is our second episode where we are being buried by anti-motorcycle dust. Well, at least some of us are. I got with me today RJ. Say hi, RJ.
Hello from cold but not snowing Pennsylvania.
I got Tom.
Hello from sunny, warm Georgia.
And we got Jerry.
And it's just kind of cloudy here in Arkansas, but it's great.
Well, Wisconsin has decided they've hated me, so I'm jealous of all you people who have nice, warm, and clean, dry roads. Just saying. All right. First thing we want to go over today, we're going to hit a little bit of MSTA business. We have some upcoming rallies. So, as we all know, the biggest draw to MSTA is the rallies. It's that friendship, that camaraderie. So, if you are in any of these areas, hit them up. We've got April 26th, Not Looking for Bigfoot rally down in Mountain Home, Arkansas. Also, the weekend, April 26th, we've got the North Georgia Classic out of Dillard, Georgia, and Ozark Escape Rally on May 3rd out of Eureka Springs. And then I think there was one more. Let me pull up the events page. Yep, that same weekend of May 3rd, we got the Tusky Muskie Rally in New Philadelphia, Ohio. So,
Luck.
I don't know if any of you guys
going
have been. Oh yeah, and then of course it's May, so May's gonna kick it right off, and we're gonna have a whole bunch coming up. I don't know if any of you guys have been to any of these rallies or not. I haven't.
So last year, the one in Dillard, Georgia, the North Georgia Classic, that is put on and kind of run by the Georgia chapter. And I went to it last year. Typically, they were having it in Helen, Georgia, a few years before that, and then moved it to Dillard. So Dillard's just kind of North Georgia area, north of Clayton. Great riding in that area, so easy. You're within minutes of getting up into North Carolina. You got all the Georgia mountains, so lots of great riding in that area.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that this year because just a few days later, I'm heading off to a different rally, so I couldn't do both.
Oh man, that's some beautiful territory down there in those Georgia mountains. I miss living on the coast. I've gotten to not the Ozark Escape Rally, but I did the Bull Shoals Rally. So it's that same general area in Arkansas. The Ozarks are beautiful. If you haven't had a chance to get out and ride the Ozarks, go for it. It's worth the ride. So, all right, that's all we got coming up for events before the next episode. Well, a couple of them after, but we're going to move right into topics today because I know Tom's got to cut out a little bit early, so we're going to bump Tom's topic up. First one, motorcycles.
Wow.
Toy or transportation?
Oh,
So I'll kick this one off. This is one that I always ask people because, all right, typically in the U.S., motorcycles are toys. It is a recreational vehicle. No, very, very few people treat it as transportation. I come at it from the other side. Ever since I started riding 17, 18 years ago, I came into it as being, okay, I want it to be my transportation. And also for the last now 5, 6 years, my bikes are my pure form of my personal transportation. So my wife and I have gone down to one car. It's her car. But if I need to go anyplace, I use my bikes, no matter what the weather is. So that's where I come at it, and wanted to hear how you guys approach it because how it's viewed in the U.S. is very different from Europe for the most part. But we're still under that banner of it's just a toy for weekend entertainment.
Yeah, and you bring up Europe. That's a really valid comparison because over there, like, there's huge chunks of population that don't even have an automobile license. They're entirely on motorcycles and scooters. Like, that's their primary mode of transportation, and it's a very common thing. I mean,
Yep.
I'll say being up here in
So-
Wisconsin, ice and snow. So
Yeah, I think that one part. If my mic's bothering anybody, just let me know.
oh, it's perfect.
I think that one part that's really detrimental to us in the States is just how much we live in big areas. So it's hard, like commuting in big cities. When I lived in Dallas, there was no way I was going to commute on a motorcycle. You just feel like that little Frogger character in the video games, and that's never any fun. I think in Europe, it's much more. The people around you are more perceptive to the ideas of having two wheels around, where it still seems like in America they just view us as targets sometimes.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I would say
You
the
have-
exception.
I mean,
I would say the
go
exception
ahead,
to that would be
RJ.
California, with having the legalized filtering and lane splitting. There's a lot of people that their commute would have been 2 hours, and it goes down to a 45-minute commute because you can filter through traffic, splitting through traffic, and most of the other European countries allow that as well, and their
Yeah.
drivers are used to it.
I think.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point.
and I will say, before I went down to just one car, I used to commute into the office for several years when I used to go into an office. So I've been commuting just purely on a bike, probably 10 years in the Atlanta area. Yeah, you really don't save much time over a car because you got to still obey all the laws. For several of those years, Vespa scooter, and that was the best commuting vehicle because easily maneuverable around traffic. Yes, Jerry, you got to be comfortable in getting around the cars and being aggressive to take whatever spot you want to take. But what made it the best was heading home in the afternoon. There was a couple of roads with those few great curves, and that just made the day really nice.
Yeah, I wish there was a way. I wish there was an easier way to, I wear all the gear all the time, right? So just commuting and going to work, and especially when I worked in the store in the office, you get there and it take 20 minutes for you to get your work clothes, basically, and then, but you're right, that ride home and you get to hit a couple twisty roads works out great.
Yeah, that's how we are.
Especially Doug,
During the summer up here, I actually take the back road to work all the time because it's just this windy, twisty county highway. And it's terrible in the car, but it's so much fun on the bike, and it's all day long. That's all I can think of. It's like, I can get to ride that road home.
Yep, and I used to get a lot of weird, looks in the office. I specifically back in 16 or 17 bought an Aerostitch suit, so I'd wear that, right into the office. But it was easy because I'd get into my office, close my door, take off the Aerostitch suit. I kept a extra pair of dress shoes in my office. That was the only thing I changed because I was in my my business clothes. And that was it, ready to go. Just took a few minutes. So through this, I developed the mantra is that there is no bad weather, just bad gear.
Yeah.
So
I'll
Hey,
ride
Rob,
through most,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll ride through most weather, but ice and snow, I kind of draw the line.
those arrow stitches get a little toasty over 90 degrees or so too.
yeah, that was more, winter and rain wear as the summer came up. Yeah, my gear changed.
What were you saying, Jerry?
No, I just said, Rob, in the wintertime, man, the hardest part for you is just getting those spikes on your tires. So it rolls through the ice really well.
I got a rivet gun. We're good. Up here, now, I will say we will see during heavy snow winters, we'll see a lot of guys riding their snowmobiles in, and that's, I guess, not a whole lot different.
I love the idea of the arrow stitch, but I'm 6'2", 260 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Those arrow stitches are heavy.
Yeah. I don't know. I work with a bunch of guys who are of the very Wisconsin motorcycle mindset. I dare not, blaspheme an entire group of people, but we all know who they are. So I pull up into work in all my gear. That'd be easier if you just didn't wear all that stupid stuff. Yeah, but I kind of like my skin.
Hey, what makes it worse is that my Aerostitch is bright neon yellow, so
Nice.
I look like Big Bird in the thing. Yeah, it is the dorkiest looking outfit you can have. It was custom made, so I have a lot of alterations to it, but it's one of those where when I'm standing up, the butt's hanging down, the arms are too long, the legs are too long, but as soon as I sit on the bike, it fits perfectly.
But here, the thing with that is, if they're looking at you and going, huh, they see you.
There you go.
Unfortunately,
So
after all the years working on the interstate with the fire trucks and all the flashing lights, sometimes they see or they're looking at you means they're driving into you.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so I guess it's not only where you live, but also your mindset. So whether you treat your bike as transportation is a mindset. Yeah, if you're in the northern parts, you can't do it all the time, but as it starts to warm up a little bit, do you go run errands on the bike? Do you have your bike set up where can you do a grocery run? Things like that.
We've actually had
So one of
enough, like during the nicer months of the year, my car would sit to the point where I would have people that flip cars coming, hey, do you want to sell that broke down car? And it's not broken, it's fine. Oh, that thing hasn't moved in months. It's because it's nice enough to ride.
Yeah, one of the things I think that also hurts the transportation part is the cost of motorcycles, right, in the United States. And you talk about a Vespa, it's kind of funny. I was in a Dallas dealership that sells Vespas, and I got on one, and man, it looked cool. It had basket. I mean, it was just cool. It was $9,000 for a 150 Vespa scooter.
Yeah, so Vespas are at the top of the food chain of the scooter world. You can get into them for much cheaper. I've owned several scooters over my riding career, but the Vespa was cool just to connect with my Italian roots.
Yeah, we had some of those old
Enjoyed it.
Kimco ones, and those things were a riot to ride in town. They were so much fun.
I think that with the newer lower CC models that you can get into a price point for $5,000 to $6,000, I think that's going to help a little bit too. And also, I think when I was a kid, everybody wanted to ride a motorcycle, and I don't know if that's necessarily the thing now. It just seems the younger generation is not nearly as excited about them.
I think that
Yeah,
comes
and
down
that's
to
where-
with the younger generation
Go
right
ahead.
now, they don't have quite the disposable income that a lot of us did back then. So,
Well, so that gets back into the transportation thing. We don't promote motorcycling as cheaper, fun transportation. So yeah, you can get into a 150 or even a 300 scooter for in the $5,000-$6,000 range, probably even less for some of them. Fully capable of going on most roads other than the interstate. They're great as far as I think it's a great entry into motorcycling is to get on a scooter first because it's twist and go. Most young people have never driven a manual shift car, so the concept of clutch and shifting is foreign. So I think I always look at scooters as a great and gateway drug because you learn how to ride first. And you learn how to maneuver on two wheels before you have to get into learning how to shift and use a clutch.
yeah. Plus, they're just ridiculous fun.
They are.
And talk about having something set up to run errands. There's so much storage space there.
The trunk is
that-
awesome.
So my Vespa did not have that big of a trunk, but I also had very early on a Suzuki Bergman 400. The trunk was tremendous on that. You could put in almost 3 helmets.
Yeah.
I mean, I walk out of the grocery store and people would look at me as like, where are you putting all that stuff? And then lift up the seat
Right there.
and throw several bags in.
I think that's why when the NC 700X from Honda came out, they had that, like, the tank was under the seat, so that whole fuel tank
Frunk.
area was a frunk. Yeah. I looked really hard at those. I think this would be perfect for going to work. Speaking of buying bikes, Tom's next topic is: do dealers in your area affect your bike purchase decisions? So,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, do you see brands that, and I'll use my example as far as like Aprilia. They make some great bikes, but the nearest, I live in the Atlanta metro area. The nearest Aprilia dealer is in Savannah, Georgia, about 4 hours away. And they're, I think, the only dealer in the state. So there's no way I would even consider one. Other dealers near me have some good, some not so good reputations, and that does, at least for me, make a determination as to the bikes that I'm looking at and want to get serviced.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I love Aprilia and I love Moto Guzzi. I don't even know where the nearest dealers for those are right now. I think there's one of each in the Twin Cities, 3.5 hours away. But it's
we
still
see a
too
lot
far.
more. We see a lot more BMWs and Triumphs where I'm at, just because the dealer that we have is so fantastic.
So that's actually
and is so involved in the community. And I mean, they have been selling Triumph since it was Hinckley Triumph, or Meridian Triumph, I should say, and they have people that know the line back that far even.
seen
And
that.
I mean, the great dealer, and they're also the same way with the BMWs. I mean, they've been selling them since the 60s.
That's how we are with, like, for us, we're going to go buy a Ducati or a Royal Enfield or an Indian or a BMW before we even look at anything else. Because, like, our big four dealers around here, the Japanese dealers, they're big box retailers, basically. I mean, they cycle their employees, like, they change them weekly almost. It's just, but the experience we get when we go to Tytler is extremely personal. The staff never changes. So that tells you right there they're treating their people well, and it shows in the way they treat you when you walk through the door. And
Yeah.
Is that the same Tytler that sponsors Moto America, the Moto America team?
yes. Yep.
You know, one thing I say about dealerships too is, I guess I kind of misunderstood the question. I don't mind driving to, look, I live in Arkansas. We don't have a BMW dealership in the state. We don't have a Ducati dealership in the state. So if I limited my choices to what was dealers here, I'd probably never buy a motorcycle. But I will go, and I'll drive 4.5, 5 hours to go to Dallas to a dealership that I know is reputable. They also sell everything, right? Everything. So I don't have a problem going 2.5, 3 hours going to a dealership, as long as, again, like Rob said, the dealership's not flipping employees. The service department's good. You can get some, in today's world of the online, you can easily communicate with them. But I do think that some of these dealerships are really hurting themselves because of the turnover, because a lot of them are big box dealerships, power sports dealerships, right? I'll drive 5 hours to go to Dallas to buy my next motorcycle. I'm sure that's where I'll go get it. Just because I know the dealership, and of course then service kind of sucks, to be honest with you, because then you got to go so far. But I think that the mom and pop dealerships, or the ones that are at least smaller, I think are more attractive than these big box dealers.
Yeah, and like you said, the service is the biggest thing for us over here. Like, we've got a Yamaha dealer 15 minutes away from my house, but they've traditionally been very power sports. So a lot of UTVs, a lot of ATVs, stuff like that. They don't do much for motorcycles. So I can go there and get parts for stuff that's out of warranty, but they really don't even want to touch the bikes right now because their service techs aren't really bike savvy. They're trying to change that this year, and I adore those guys. They're one of my customers at work. They're great people. They're trying to bring the bikes in this year, but it's been a real struggle for them. So if I need warranty work or anything like that, my choice is to take it to one of the big box dealers because they're the only thing within 4 hours. So
Tom, what's your experience? Do you have good dealerships, or?
Well, so so we've got the big corporate dealerships that handle the primary Japanese brands, and I've got one of those 2 miles from my house. Their service department is somewhat suspect. I've got a very good BMW dealer near me, and so that did sway some of my decisions. Now, there's one of the reasons why right now I own two Triumph motorcycles is the dealer in town that's about 45 minutes from me is a boutique Triumph dealer. Excellent reputation. I think right now and they've only been in business for 4 or 5 years, something like that. They're the number one volume dealer of Triumphs in the country. But I can walk in there and from the service guys to the front office guys know who I am. They say hello as you come in. They're also associated with a coffee shop, which is really nice. But it was a service thing, But like I had a Honda Goldwing just until recently, and I had trouble with that as far as getting that serviced, get serviced in Atlanta, or was comfortable getting serviced in Atlanta. If I had to get any factory service done, I probably was going to drive up to Chattanooga to the dedicated Honda dealer, because the big box stores that sold all of the Japanese brands, they maybe had one guy in the back that was Goldwing certified, and did you hit him when he was working, or was he around? And not every location of this conglomerate had those. So yeah, it definitely, while I've got dealerships half a dozen within probably 10 miles of me, it swayed as to what type or what brand of bike I was going to buy based on the reputation of the dealer and getting it serviced.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm actually looking so hard at the Pan America again. The dealership that I teach for, it's right by where my full-time job is, and they are heavily invested in the RevMax platform. They've got several technicians that are passionate about them, and they dig deep. They own them. So I can get it serviced super easily right there. And the BMW dealer, Tyler, I adore them. They're great. They're an hour and a half away, and I'm not going that direction ever unless I'm going there. So it's kind of swaying me that direction.
I think one of the things Tom hit on too, and I think it's good for some dealerships, but it's been horrible for others, is the idea of the boutique dealership. We lost our BMW dealership because it was a small mom and pop Bentonville BMWs. It was very famous. People loved the service. But BMW came in and said, hey, you got to purchase $250,000 worth of gear and make your floors all wood floor. They to change the appearance, and some of these smaller dealerships just can't afford to do that, especially in a state like Arkansas. Yeah. So I love boutique dealerships, but I think that they've run their mom and pop out of the dealership business.
Yeah, Harley did a big rush of that. That's why you see like all the Harley dealers now are like destinations. So they ran several very small, very popular dealers right out of their network doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's. Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead.
No, Tommy, I just make a funny comment that I think if you ride a BMW, I think the coffee shop thing comes with it, right? Don't you get a card or something that you get to go to?
Hey, I rode Beamers for 12 years. You have to stop at every Starbucks you pass. That's why it takes so long to get anywhere.
I joke with the guys at Tytler's. They sell BMW and Ducati, and there isn't a single espresso machine in that building. It's like, come on, guys. Let's go.
Our BMW, our dealer, the guy that runs the parts counter, is also where I get my coffee from. He's our local roaster in town as well.
Nice.
So I will tell you, the Triumph dealership where I got my last bike from. So they had, where they started off several years ago was as a coffee shop. Place is called Pop's Coffee, and then he opened up the motorcycle place next door, and he was just a custom fabricator, and sold some used bikes. Then he got the Triumph dealership that he added in, and I've talked to him, and he said this was always the plan, to establish the coffee shop first and then try and get the dealership. So great concept as far as having, and they're open to each other. They're, I mean, in the same building. He is now getting a BMW dealership in a building right next door. And I think they're going to be open in the fall with the BMW dealership. So that'll be another one in the Atlanta area. And he's looking at opening up a cafe that going to be in between the BMW and the Triumph place. So he is trying to create that. It's a boutique place, but it's a destination place. And starting in just last week, he does a monthly bike night associated to the coffee shop and the Triumph dealership. And there's 100 people there on the monthly bike night. So it's while it's a mom and pop, it's a great concept as far as combining those two together.
Our BMW Triumph dealer does a lot of things like that. Like when they have the new BDR movies that come out, they usually do a screening thing. They've brought in speakers. They had Christmas parties. And it seems you have to do something to engage the people, make them want to come. Kind of like the Harley dealers have done a pretty good job at getting that house feeling to the dealerships.
And I think that
oh, absolutely.
It seems to be like the BMW, Ducati, Indian, Royal Enfield, those dealers, Triumph dealers. It's like they have a niche where they're able to capture that same ideology. I've never seen the Japanese manufacturer dealers do that. Like the closest thing we've got is one of our big dealers up here does do a bike night like once a month. But that's about it. Otherwise it's Best Buy for motorcycles. But
no, yeah, and it's funny. We even had one of our dealerships that's about 30 miles from me. They were an independent. I think they had all four of the Japanese brands in there, and they recently got bought by one of the large conglomerates out of Texas. And soon after the purchase was made, about a month later, I went in, and basically the place was turned into probably 70% ATVs. Bikes were pushed to the back. Used and new bikes were kind of intermixed. All of the brands were intermixed. I had a tough time telling, it was more of an ATV store than it was a motorcycle shop.
Yeah.
And it was a shame to see that happen.
Well, since we're talking about motorcycle shops, I think we should move into RJ's topic because this falls in the line with getting serviced. We're into the start of a new riding season, so how does everybody start up and get ready and geared up for your riding season as you're coming in? What kind of bike maintenance are you doing? I'll let you take over on this one, RJ.
I was going to say this is a little bit more applicable to myself and Rob compared to Jerry and Tom, and to have the beautiful weather year round that you can ride 11 months out of the year regularly. That's what I was
going to comment is what is this comment? What is this concept of a riding season? I don't understand.
Hey, just
sometimes I have to.
I was to say, just because yours runs 364 days a year.
I do have to close my garage sometimes when I'm working on my bike. It's a little chilly.
Ouch. That was straight to the heart, you guys.
Yeah, for the rest of the states north, a little bit farther north, our bikes sit for significant chunks of the year. And I want to talk about some of the stuff that we do, or what people do to get their bike ready and make sure it's in good running condition for the year. I have, between Carrie and I, we have 7 bikes right now. I actually have a whiteboard in my shop with all the bikes listed on it, when the oil changes were done on them, what the tire dates are, and when the tires were put on the bikes, when the registrations are due on them, and any kind of outstanding maintenance issues. And the bigger stuff I try to get through, like over the winter. Like this year, I redid suspension on forks on a bike. carburetor clean, carb sync, stuff like that over the winter. Changed tires out on a bunch of them that my date codes were getting to that 4 or 5 years old down the line. And in fact, this week, my jug of high temp brake fluid came, and every single bike that we have that has disc brakes on it is going to get the fluid bled out of it for the beginning of the new season. And I was wondering what people do to get their bikes ready.
One thing I will say is, if you're in a northern state, the best spring prep is good fall storage. So
Absolutely.
Like, for us, we'll take our bikes, we'll top them off with non-ethanol fuel, bring them home. If I'm close enough to an oil change and I hadn't just done one, I'll go ahead and just change the oil, put it on the stands, plug the battery tender in, and leave it. And then come springtime, the bike's battery's good to go. You've got good fuel in the tank, no moisture to worry about. But we do, like, winter for us is a good season. We call it mod season. So same as you, RJ. If anything major needs to be done, that's when I try to schedule it to get done, because I've got months to take it apart and get into it. Like this year, I did a valve service on the tracer. I did the spark plugs, the full throttle body sync. All that gets done over the winter, and then she's good to go come springtime.
And the one thing that, and kind of jumping around my topic a little bit, after you do those sorts of things, to keep in mind those first rides of the year, that bike might not be the exact same way it was when you parked it in fall.
Right.
My wife Carrie said I'm allowed to share this one. We had a little incident on her first ride of the year that we took when we had a couple of days of 70 degrees last week. In the fall, I had used her bike for a track day and bumped the preload up a little bit in the rear shock because I weigh significantly more. And over the winter, it got a new set of tires on it, same size as what was on it before, but the profile was different. She stalled the bike at a stoplight, and with that profile change in the tire, the bike sits almost a half-inch taller than it did when she parked it in the fall. And she wasn't able to get her footing right, and $80 clutch lever later, the bike's back in good condition. But it's keeping in mind that those changes that you made, the bike may not behave exactly the same way as it did, or the fact that you put brand new tires on it and you haven't run them in yet.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things too, that even though we get to ride a lot right during the off season, I think people need to realize when they come back, roads are going to be a little dirtier because of the winter, right? Especially up where you guys live. And you haven't ridden as much. I mean, I laugh because we can ride year round, but I don't ride as much as I do during the regular season, right? So everybody should kind of ease back into it a little bit. I always tell people when they come to Ozark Escape, you know, a lot of these guys will come from Wisconsin and Michigan, and I'm like, hey guys, there's a lot of corners here. Go ahead and just kind of ease into this. You know, you don't want to take your bike home on a trailer. So
one of the things I know I do, and it's kind of part of my rider coach brain, is on the physical and mental side that RJ had brought up in his notes. The very first thing I do when I get on my bike in the spring is one of the exercises we have. It's rocking on the clutch. So it's trying to find that friction zone. I'll get the bike started, get on it in my garage, open the door, and I find that friction zone again, and I start feeling it out and getting used to where it engages and how it moves. And then when I take off, one of the first things I'll usually do is go to a parking lot, and I'll start getting familiar with how my bike reacts to braking again, how it handles again, and I'll spend a good half hour, 45 minutes just doing a few drills in the parking lot just to reacclimate to the bike and to get all of the sync back to my controls, get that muscle memory back. And then keeping in mind too, you know, there's still, until you get a few good rains, there's all the schmutz on the roads, and you know, just take it easy.
So RJ, what's this thing called a carburetor? What is people still ride those things?
It's an evil
Yeah,
fuel leak from like 30 centuries ago.
And actually, I noticed in the comments, Lou was asking what dealer I was talking about. It was Hermes BMW Triumph in Port Clinton. If you blink, you'll miss the whole town that it's in, but it's one of the larger BMW Triumph dealers. And talking about the carburetors, their service guy, her Thruxton's an 04. It does not have the stock carburetors on it. Doesn't have the stock airbox. Doesn't have stock. Pretty much nothing's the same on it. And to have somebody in a service department that can go, you need to run this spark plug for a bike that they haven't. That's 20 years old.
20 years old and
most places
heavily
won't
modified.
Yeah, most places won't even touch or won't even talk to you about a bike that's 10 years old. But yeah, going back to
I'm sorry if you're riding a bike these days with a carburetor, you are satisfying your masochistic tendencies.
Amen, my guy.
Absolutely.
run non-ethanol fuel in it, and because it's plentiful here, and you really don't have many problems.
We have a couple rider coaches that when we're pulling the bikes out and we're having them find the fuel valve and all that. Congratulations. If you don't have fuel valve, you're on the superior motorcycle. It's fuel injected.
Yeah, my class, one location I teach at, we have some very old vintage bikes. And I had a funny incident last class a couple weeks ago. Had this young kid on a very old Suzuki. And he, on one of the exercises, he stops next to me and he says, my bike is backfiring on me. I said, when you get to be as old as that bike, you're going to backfire too. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's only on fire. It's fine.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, and also keeping in mind that the bike's not the same as it was at the end of the year, but you might not be the same either.
Yeah.
And the physical toll of the winter, and some people, or including myself, lack of movement over the winter. You're stiffer, you're not quite as flexible as you were at the end of the summer.
My very first ride this year was 2-up with my daughter, and I have not ridden 2-up in... Well, I should say it's my second ride. My first ride was riding down to the parking lot and back. But my first on-the-road, get out and go, I haven't ridden 2-up in years. Like, once last summer with my sister, and that's about it for the last several years. And here I am. All right, we're going full send with my daughter on the back. That is the most gingerly I have ever ridden in my entire life.
Yeah, whenever you throw somebody that's... Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry.
So whenever you throw somebody that you love on the back of your motorcycle, it changes the whole dynamics, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then I'm stiff from the post-winter, and it's like, oh, this is a whole new thing, man. 50-mile ride, and I was actually tired.
Sure.
So, advice I would give for, especially those guys, if you haven't ridden in a while, is before you plan on doing it, the month before, start a stretching routine, start yoga. I mean, that's the best thing you could do. It amazes me as far as how many folks that I see are physically unable to throw a leg over a bike, and the calisthenics they do to mount a motorcycle.
You'd think with the calisthenics thing, some of those guys do, they would actually get limbered up eventually, but...
Yeah, various things as far as how to get onto a bike, but it's, that's, I do it here in Georgia, but I mean, I ride almost every day, year round. So it's, like I said, I was joking, but I don't have a concept of a season, but I do know a lot of people, even in Georgia, if it's below 40, 50 degrees, they don't ride. There's very few bikes I see from let's say November until like March now on the road. It's just a handful here and there. And I know a lot of guys that if it's better than a 20% chance of rain, they're not riding. If it's going to be below 50, they're not riding. So it's the same thing in the South. It just depends on your tolerance.
Right. Well, and that
one of the things I took from training that I'd taken, it was a Champ U course, and they had suggested basically having a mantra when you get on the bike of where am I at and what am I doing, and answering that question to yourself before you go, and check in that your mindset's where it needs to be. And I am riding with a passenger today. I need to take it a little bit slower, or there's still some salt on the road. Maybe I should only be really riding to about 60% of my ability today.
Right. Well, that brings up, since you're bringing up Champ School and things like that, as long time, one of the things we talk about with motorcycling and the rider courses is it's a lifelong learning experience. So having some additional training in your back pocket from like advanced rider courses, track days, there's a ton of them from MSF. There's a ton of them from the tracks. And then if you look around your areas, a lot of places will have like private schools that'll offer some sort of advanced rider training, be it like the lock and lean police style training or adventure bike courses, things like that. All of that plays into this too, because now you have a bigger skill set to pull from and a bigger knowledge base to work with going into your postseason first rides, things like that. And taking those courses isn't a bad idea either. When you're coming fresh out of a winter, get into an advanced rider course every couple of years. Do something to kind of make you work for it and push your riding ability to the next level. And that'll help a ton too. Figured I'd touch on that real quick since we were on the topic. And
yeah,
totally.
I think that's a perfect transition over to yours, Rob.
Oh, I just figured we'd touch on it quick, just in the interest of time. You know, like I said, you can find MSF. The MSF website's got links for all the local schools that do like the advanced rider course and the adventure bike course they offer. But look up at your private schools and look at your local tracks too. If you've got tracks near you, take a beginner track day. Those are worth their weight in gold in learning how to transition a motorcycle. And being on the track actually does this thing that we've termed velocitization. So the faster you're used to going, the slower you feel like everything happens at slower speeds. So if you're getting on a track and you get your brain acclimated to that 100 miles an hour, things at 60 slow down. You know, or if you're looking to transition from street to road or off-road, do the adventure bike course. You know, there's a lot of differences in riding when you're on a loose surface.
Yeah, I think more people should, just because you've been, like I've been riding on the street for 40 years, when I started doing a lot of dual sport, you've got to go practice and got to learn, because it's a total different game. I sometimes I laugh when I hear people say, oh, I've been riding forever, I could ride anything. Well, you can ride it, but how good can you ride it, you know? So yeah, having training is something I think everybody should do.
I'll be the first one to admit, like, growing up as a kid, I was on dirt bikes all the time, but I transitioned to road bikes at like 13. And I kind of dabble with the adventure riding off and on, but you put me out with somebody that is actually competent at it, and they're going to make me look like a fool. Like, I'm a great street rider, but when I get off onto those unpaved surfaces, I'm functional.
Yeah, so, that was one of the things several years ago when I first got into adventure bike riding is I went to, so here in the South, we've got the BMW Performance Center that does several advanced classes, and they do a 2-day off-road class on their motorcycles.
I would love to take that down there.
And it was a great class. It was probably one of the most physically and mentally demanding classes I've ever taken. And we did things in 2 days I never thought I would accomplish on especially off-road on a big GS bike. Really great training, great trainers. I've also done an on-road course with them. But you meant it as far as like the ARC courses. So I've taken those, I think, 3 or 4 times now. Usually every 3 years unfortunately, I buy a new bike every 3 or 4 years, but so it coincides with that. Whenever I get a new bike I'll go take an ARC course.
That's a really good
just
idea.
Familiarize. Yeah, just to familiarize myself with the bike and just have it in closed training. Now, I'm not big on, I know some of you guys do track days. I'm not big on track riding. I think I did a track day once. I found it a little redundant. You kept seeing the same curve over and over. But,
You went to the wrong track day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
One thing I will say about track schools, though, is if you go to an actual track instruction, they do essentially what's called a street skills on a lot of tracks. So they use the track to teach you higher speed maneuvering. So say you're at highway speeds and you need to get out of the way or brake heavily, or you're in a curve and need to slow down fast. So they're teaching you like the advanced techniques like trail braking and things like that to do the faster maneuvers.
Yeah. Well, like this year, I am trying to arrange my schedule. I don't know if you guys know Ken Condon or know of him. He runs a non-sport bike track day up in the Northeast. So I'm trying to arrange my schedule to be up in the Northeast, Rhode Island, Maine area around that time when he's doing that. Just to do something different. And I would like to try one of those, either the Champ School one or who's the other California Superbike does, right? I think that's the one. They do one-day courses here in at Barber Motorsports.
Yeah, that would be.
So not close to it, just I haven't had a chance to get to those yet.
If you ever get a shot,
Pennsylvania.
Total Control is branching out not just with their BRC stuff, but with their more advanced riding courses. And Total Control has a street skills track course that is phenomenal. It's like a blend of the advanced rider course and track instruction.
If you live in Pennsylvania, we run 4 sets of ARC courses. 2 sets are at Pocono Raceway and 2 are out at Pittsburgh International Raceway, and it is basically an ARC course on track. And Pennsylvania is one of, I think, the only state in the country where all of our BRC ARC courses are free.
If you're a Pennsylvania
who
resident,
has a license, into Pennsylvania. So if you're in Pennsylvania, it's a great thing to take advantage of and actually get that advanced training and it's there for free. I mean, you could take it twice a year if you wanted to.
That is a fantastic perk for being in the state. The ARCs in my area, the one-day course is about $140, but which isn't much for a one-day training course, but that still seems to turn a lot of people off. The MSF training site that I teach at is they're barely able to fill one course a month.
And see, up here we're $300 for the class, so it's oddly enough we actually fill up pretty easily. But I see so many motorcycles up here. We figured we've got about a 30% take rate on active motorcyclists. And they've also figured out that out of the active motorcyclists in the state of Wisconsin, only about 30 to 40% of them actually have a license. So
really,
yeah, it's
Pennsylvania is supposedly beginning to look at the sales versus licenses.
Yeah, that's what
for
we
registrations.
did. And it was staggering. We just had all our new stats this year, and all you can do is shake your head because you're passing these huge parades of bikes going, there's 100 bikes there and maybe 20 of them are actually licensed and maybe 10% of them know what they're doing. It's like this.
Yeah, I mean, I met a guy several years ago. He rode for 11 years on a permit.
Yeah.
Just kept going back and renewing it.
Now, Wisconsin will only let you do it 3 times, and they're good for a year. And then after that, you can't even take the road test. You have to take the course.
Okay. So it's Georgia is even the MSF course BRC is not mandated. You can just go to the driver services and take the test yourself.
Yeah, you can do that here too, as long as you haven't renewed more than 3 times.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is,
Yeah.
I think,
So
that's one.
and that's a great thing if you're up north, as far as to have go do a course at the beginning of, like you say, your season.
Yeah. But, well, let's go ahead and pop over to Jerry's topics real quick so we can get Tom at least into some of them before he has to take off. Because the very first line in this one, I think we could go all night on. But motorcycles were excited to see for 2024. Jerry, we're going to let you kick this one off.
Yeah, boy, it's been a long time since I've been this excited for new models of motorcycles coming in. And there's a couple of reasons, right? I love the fact that these middleweight motorcycles are coming back into play.
Oh, yeah.
I love that these new entry-level motorcycles, the Triumph 400, if you guys haven't taken a look at that thing's unbelievable.
The Scrambler 400 version. Oh, man.
And it looks amazing, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's just an exciting time. And even in the sport touring mob, you know, you get, for a while there, we got kind of stuck with, you know, you rode a C14, ST 1300, or you rode a BMW. Well, now the Suzuki GT 1000, you know, there's just so many cool motors. The Tracer GT Yamaha is amazing. You know, and they're $15,000-$16,000, which is a lot of money, but it's not Ducati BMW crazy when it comes to those types of bikes. And then you also have the new BMW 1300 GS does nothing for me, but a lot of people are really excited about it. I saw one in person. Yeah, they're okay. I mean, I really like the looks of the older GSs, to be honest with you. But for you guys, what bike's really kind of exciting you? If you had to go buy a new motorcycle today, what would you guys go buy? Tom, what would you go buy?
Well, I'll answer that because I just did it a month ago. So the 2024 that I was really excited about and went and bought was a Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro.
That's a great motorcycle.
And my short list was that bike, the 2024 Honda Africa Twin, and the new Moto Guzzi Stelvio that was coming out. So between those 3, the Stelvio was the bottom of my list. I had seen the Mondello that it's based off of. I had sat on that. I do have a one dealer near me, but they were coming into the States, trickling in. The Africa Twin, I did get to do a test ride on, didn't care for it. So the Tiger 900 was kind of like the Goldilocks bike, as you said. So I went smaller rather than for the 1200. I didn't need the power. I didn't need that size of bike for the type of riding. I love that Triumph offered a premium bike with heated grip, heated seats, everything that is on the big bikes, but in a 900 platform that weighs under 500 pounds. That was what excited me about the bike the most.
You know, the Stelvio, I'm really excited about it. I'm actually going to go. I want to go ride one. I love the look of it. So that's one bike I really like. But I have 2 friends that ride the Triumph 900 GT, and you are going to love that thing. It's a fantastic bike. RJ, what's exciting you? And hey, they don't have carburetors.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the bike that I'm most excited about, I can't buy. It's the XSR 900 GP because they're not importing it. But for me, the 2 that I'm most looking forward to actually seeing and hopefully throwing a leg over are the Daytona 660 and the Ducati Hyper Motard 698.
That 698 is going to be amazing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of there's nothing really in the sport touring realm because I have that Tiger, and that hits all the boxes for me. For that, it's a fantastic touring bike. I've done a track day on it. It handles extremely well. Everything else I would be looking at would be either in the small bike or more sporty bike range.
I think too many people sleep on Triumph, man. Those things, like, I don't see them that often comparative to like the BMWs and the Japanese bikes, but that Tiger line is so good.
It's really good. And
the other thing that drew to me is that, I've owned 2 GSs in the past, is that it's nice to have something that doesn't look like everybody else's. Just something a little bit different. The triple is an interesting engine. I've never had a triple before. So yeah, I mean, they're just hitting it with a premium bike, not at a super high price point. Because when I looked at mine and I looked at a GS, the GS is $10,000 more by the time you put everything that you have to put on a GS. And I was hard pressed to find $10,000 worth of bike in a GS.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Go ahead. That's the thing I look at is, hey, I like riding my big Versas because I don't see 1,000 of them on the road, even though it's a great motorcycle. But another thing is I just look at, I would love to have a multi-strada V4, VS, I mean, they're great, but are they $10,000 to $12,000 better than what I'm riding right now? And that's my, my biggest thing. So Rob, what excites you?
So you actually already hit on the...
Rob, before you jump in, unfortunately, I've got to drop out. I had a hard stop at 5:00, my local time. So my apologies to everybody. Hey, it was a great show. Thank you all very much. I think this was great. I hope everybody got some entertainment out of this. I know you guys are going to continue on for several more minutes, but thanks very much and look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thanks for
Tom.
coming on
Take
again,
care.
Tom.
See you, Tom.
All right. Thanks all. Bye.
So Rob, what did I hit on?
You hit on the Tracer. So we're in the middle of a big garage flux, so the GS is gone. I've still got my Tracer. I will not get rid of the one I have because I've got it so well done up already. I'm trying to go after the Iron Butt Rally again. Like, I want to actually make it in and do a completion on it. So I started looking at, like, the big ADV bikes. After 7 or 8 days on that bike, pulling up to a gas pump, I'm going to drop the thing. I started looking at the FJRs again. Because I've had FJRs in the past. They're great. I can flat foot them. But with this new Tracer, you've got the radar, which also links to that 6-axis IMU. So it has like collision detection and all that stuff. And I'm just thinking, when I'm day 8 into this thing and I'm half tired and that deer runs out in front of me, the bike is going to give me enough time to react. But it's wild. And you were talking about the middleweight thing and how the middleweight category bikes are coming around so much. That's a great example of it too, because the FJR line is kind of stagnated. And all the tech is going into that Tracer, and you're getting tech in that bike at $15,000 that it's going to cost you $30,000 to get in anything else. So it's literally half the price. And that CP3 engine is such a sweetheart of an engine. And with everything else they've added for 24, oh man, I am all over that thing.
Yeah, I got the ride one, and if I was riding solo a lot more, I would probably have one. It's not a 2-up motorcycle, not for the way we want to ride it, or not for somebody that's as big as I am. But man, for a solo sport touring motorcycle, that motorcycle is amazing. But I also think that, you look at, you talked about the smaller bikes, there's some really cool smaller sport bikes that are kind of intriguing. The new RS 457 Aprilia,
yes,
looks amazing. The Z500 Kawasaki, you talk about $6,500 to get into that motorcycle. The new CB500X Honda, right? The adventure bike Honda. Man, that middleweight section is really becoming a huge deal. And like you said, they're putting the technology into those now, which kind of is great because, again, I love horsepower. Everybody loves horsepower, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to buy a KTM 1250 GT. I would kill myself. I would want to use the horsepower all the time. And B, I don't need 180 horsepower, And so, and I know some people say, well, you don't need it, but it's nice to have. I want usable power. And that's one thing, the Tracer GT, the Versus, 110, 120 horsepower is plenty to get anybody in any amount of trouble, so.
I come from a background of very fast bikes. Like, this Tracer I've got now is the slowest bike I have owned aside from a KLR in probably 20 years. I mean, I was leader bikes, turboed Hayabusas, you name it. I was on really fast bikes. And I thought for sure jumping on this thing, I was going to feel like it was lacking. But I've ridden that now. I've ridden the 900 Pro Triumphs. I've ridden the 890 KTM Adventures. And I don't feel that. I mean, maybe it's partially age too. Like, I don't need to do 200 miles an hour down the street. But I don't feel like I'm missing with all the mid-range that they put in the power band on these middleweight bikes. They're so punchy. Like, I'm not giving anything up. I'm giving up top-end speed. That's it.
So you're trying to tell me a KLR is not a fast motorcycle?
I debated turboing it and finding out, but
the tractor of off-road motorcycles. And
it's funny, like, we have this BMW G310R that my wife jumped on to get back into riding. We won't get rid of it because it's so much fun to ride it because you can just pin the thing everywhere.
Well, my wife's Duke 390. I end up taking that out more often than some of my bigger bikes because I can go have fun on it. And if you're pinning it wide open going up a hill, you're barely breaking the speed limit.
Yeah.
My 390 Adventure is amazing. I'll never get rid of that KTM. It is a great motorcycle.
Oh, that's the other one too. You're seeing so much improvement in that light and small bike range with like the 390 Duke and 390 Adventure, these little BMWs. I mean, even when you get into like the Yamaha MT-03, that is a hoot to ride.
I think the thing is like you said, in America, we just get this thing in our head about, bigger and better and faster and everything. And I'm really excited about, I think these newer bikes are going to help draw new people into the hobby without killing them. I hate to say it, and because a lot of people don't go take safety classes and that sort of thing. And I'd rather have you out there trying to kill yourself on a 310 than on a, Hayabusa or something, right? So, hey, one of the last things I want to talk about, and I don't know how you guys are on this subject, but the influx of Chinese motorcycles. So the CFM group of motorcycles, if you haven't got to check some of those out, that is a lot of motorcycle for the money. And go ahead.
As I say, that CF Moto stuff, they kind of came out of just out of nowhere. And when you go ride those, they don't feel like a Chinese motorcycle. Like, they don't feel like your typical Ling Fang or Lifan or any of that.
They don't, because a lot of people are riding them already and don't even know it.
Exactly.
They're twin motors. CF's making the 890 motor for KTM, the 790 motor for KTM. I think they're making the 1290 for KTM.
Yeah, they shifted a lot of KTM's production as of sometime this year. It's coming out of Austria and it's going to CF Moto's plant.
Yeah, go ahead, RJ.
Go ahead. They've been doing a lot of their motor assembly for them for years, and then shipping them to Europe and having the bikes built there.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to ride the 800 IMAX, and man, that was a very nice motorcycle. And I think you're going to start seeing more dealers coming into play. with more of a dealer network. That'd be my only thing now, is having to wait for parts or whatever. But if anybody in motorcycling's tried to order parts recently, everybody's back, right? It takes forever to get parts for, seems like, for anything, any motorcycle. And one of the things I did see where KTM, I don't know if you guys saw that they're purchasing MV Agusta.
They did.
And
It's
so
already
they will,
done.
yeah, so they will be venturing into that luxury market. So kind of excited to see about that. But hey, so I'll ask you guys a question. So Rob, if you had to buy a motorcycle, 600 cc's or below, what would you buy?
Right now, it'd probably be a toss-up between the G310 GS or the that's a
We could
hard
even
one.
say seven. We could even say 700, because there's a couple 660s and stuff out there that are
I was gonna
anything
say-
700 below.
The the Transalp's a 750, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen one of those in real life?
Yes, actually, our Honda dealer got one in. Oh my God, I'm all over that thing. I need to demo ride it so bad. I don't know. I'm gonna throw out. I'm waiting for the new Himalayan because I really like the old one.
I just hope they put more motor in it.
They did.
Yeah,
It got
because
a bump.
it's, boy, that thing, I tell you, with my big body on there, I look like a bear on a bicycle, and it struggles. And but RJ, what would you buy?
So, if money was no object, I think it's a ZX4R.
Oh,
I've
that's
test rode
such
one
a
of
good
them.
one.
That bike was so much fun. It was having something that's the motor spinning up to 16,000 RPM.
Right.
But more realistically, I'm currently shopping and looking around for a Vipillin.
Oh man, I forgot about that thing.
410. Yeah.
Didn't they do
It's-
another one now
it's-
too? It's a bigger Vitpillin.
Yeah. It's the same motor as the 390 KTM, which is a great motor, and that'll probably be my next bike that I use for like track days. And then you could also do like the DGR rides and stuff on it, because it's kind of classic looking and doesn't have the alien headlight.
So how about you,
Yeah,
Jerry?
that's. Oh man, there's so many. The Aprilia RS 457 is very intriguing. I would really like, and to be honest with you, that the ZX or the Kawasaki Ninja 4RR, that's yeah, that's pretty cool. But I think if it came down to it, I'd probably wind up with the. I like the 660 Triumph a lot. I'd probably wind up with one of those. And but yeah, it's that little market there is really big. And hey, so another question. So now, if money is no object, you have to buy a motorcycle 1,000 cc's and up. What are you going to buy, RJ?
Ooh, maybe the Multistrada Pikes Peak.
That's an amazing motorcycle. They just look
And
so
is it-
cool.
It has the one thing that I complain about the Triumphs for. You can get it's 17-inch front wheel on an adventure bike, and that seems to be where a lot of the bikes are lacking. When they have that 19-inch front, you can't get good sporty rubber to turn it into more of a sport touring bike.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rob, what about you?
Oh, hands down, R1300 GS.
So what intrigues you about that?
I'm an old school GS head anyway, so to me it's just a new iteration of a bike I already love. But I'm digging the idea that it's lighter with a little more punch to it. So it's kind of moving back. Like GS is up into the 1250. They got really clinical. They were really good at what they did, but they did it in a very mechanical and methodical way. They never felt exciting. You always knew it was going to do the thing, and you just never thought about it. and it seems like they kind of brought some of the flair back with the 1300. Plus, the tech package on it is just amazing.
I do like how right. I like how small. I like how they made it more narrow.
Right.
It does look a little. We'll see what the adventure looks like. I mean, the big GS. The GSA. We'll see what that looks like when it comes out. I ride with a lot of BMW guys, and so and I've been in BMW clubs all my life. I've never owned one, so I can't say I've ever owned one. I just I don't know. I think that bike gets a lot of hype, but I think there's a lot of motorcycles that are just as good. It's just not going to, it's just not getting the hype. But that's just my opinion. So all you BMW riders, don't hate me.
I think that's the problem BMW's got right now, though, is because up until the last several years or so, they did have a premium that nobody else could touch. But now you've got all the bikes from the Super 10 array is killing a lot of it. Although that one seems to have kind of been sidelined a bit for the 10 array 700. But Triumph's 1200 is absolutely on par. Then you got Harley coming out of nowhere with that Pan Am, and now that they're getting it sorted and figuring it out, it's everything that I would expect from a GS, only it's as playful as the Tracer. It's really kind of cool.
You got a bunch of BMW guys out there just having a heart attack right now.
Hey guys, I'm one of you too. Don't worry. I'm just as shocked as you are. It'll be all right. Here's a latte.
Right. I think if it was me, I'd probably buy the new Multistrada, the V4S Grand Tour. I really like that motorcycle, and for my type of riding, I think it'd be really, would be a lot of fun. So, but the cool thing is 2024 is going to have some great motorcycles. We're going to I can't wait to see a lot of these in the wild, right?
Yes.
It's easy to see stuff when you're on the website and you're checking them out and everything, but I can't wait to pull up next to one and actually talk to people who are riding them. I think Motor Guzzi, they've got some bikes that are on my radar as well. Dealer Network is about the only thing that really stops me there from that. And again, we can go back to that topic, but it seems like if I worried about that here in Arkansas, I'd never own a motorcycle. So,
well, that Stelvio for sure. But hey, here, quick plug for the MSTA rallies. You can almost bet if you go to these rallies, you're going to start seeing some of these bikes at them. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one cool thing about these rallies, right? Is you sit there, the Ozark Escape's coming up, and I'm sure somebody's going to roll up there with something that that we haven't seen before. So, really looking forward to that.
Yep. So, one last thing before we take off out of here, we have a little bit of a quick fire question. What is the single best piece of motorcycle advice in all your years of riding that you were given? We're going for you first, Jerry.
Slow in, fast out. Anytime you get in the corner, go in slow, come out fast. I think way too many people try to do the opposite, and that's a recipe for disaster. But I think that's one. And if you guys have never read The Pace, go read The Pace, and that's the way you should ride a motorcycle.
Yep. How about you, RJ?
Something from the champ school. Don't crash the coffee. Deliberate, intentional actions on the bike and moving around in your daily life.
Words to live by. My best, get lost. And it wasn't just because they wanted me out of their way. Motorcycle.
Are you sure?
Well, we're
it
just going
wasn't
to say
followed
this.
by go play in traffic.
Right.
Here's a quarter. Call someone. Who cares? No. Way back in the 90s, I had an old motorcyclist tell me, get rid of the map. Get lost. And he's right. Motorcycling is about the journey for me, not so much the destination. It's cool to have a destination, but I've had my best rides where I've just taken off and gone, which way am I going? And sometimes getting lost lets you lose all those nasty thoughts in your head in the process of finding yourself.
I think the older we get, where we have a little more time, when I was younger, I had to maximize all my time, right? Whenever I was on a motorcycle. Now it is kind of nice just to get up and look at all 3 motorcycles and go, okay, which one do I want to go out and go ride on today and not have any place to go? So it's, one cool thing about our hobby, right, is that it's an individual, whatever that word is, right? It's an individual sport, and whatever people get out of it's what makes it, right? That's what's really cool about it. So
absolutely,
and everyone can like different things. There's
Yeah,
room for everybody in it.
absolutely. Well, don't forget about the rallies coming up. If anybody needs more information on them, it's RideMSTA.com. Just go under the rallies tab, and there's a calendar. It'll tell you where they're at, what's going on, how many days, lodging, the whole 9 yards. Don't forget to sign up for a membership while you're there. Lots of perks to being a member to MSTA. Come join us. We're the friendliest group of nerds you'll ever find. Any closing comments?
absolutely. Go ahead, RJ.
All right.
What do you guys got for closing comments?
I'll jump in there. Hey, I just want to say thanks to Rob and RJ for putting this all together with us. It's I've gotten a lot of great feedback from MSTA people, and it's so it's been pretty inspiring. We're going to get better at what we're doing. So I think the first episode and the second we'll get better. But really do appreciate everybody's feedback. And again, this whole thing is all about just riding a motorcycle and the camaraderie of motorcycles. It doesn't matter what you ride. It doesn't matter which group you're in. Look, I love the MSTA, and I would love to have you join the MSTA. But I'm more in love with just being a motorcycle enthusiast and what that means. And the cool thing about being a motorcycle enthusiast is we get to hang out with other motorcycle enthusiasts. And we get to even talk about people who want to ride motorcycles with carburetors and people who want to ride motorcycles that are fast. It's just a cool hobby. So all this whole podcast thing, whatever this is, I just hope people get the bug to learn and want to ride a motorcycle, because I would love to share that with everybody. So I know that's sappy, but that's where I'm at.
100% agree with you on all of that, man. All right.
The more motorcycles people see, the safer we all are.
Amen to
Exactly.
that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, this is your show as much as it ours. So send us your comments. Send us your feedback. It'll go up live on the podcast feeds probably tomorrow or the next day. Takes a little bit to process. So until then, we'll see you next time.
See you guys.